Hello, my name is Brendan Sattler, and today I'm going to talk about cybersecurity. Now, to preface this speech, I'd like to give a little bit of background on how much I know about the topic and why I think I'm qualified to give this speech. So, ever since I was 4 or 5 years old, I've always had technology in my life. This ranges from like video game systems to occasionally going on the computer or a smartphone eventually when I got one of those. And then just recently, about 4 or 5 years ago, I built my first computer with the help of my father. And that was a really fun experience because I learned all about the ins and outs of a computer, and I learned why it's important to make sure all the parts work so nothing blows up in your face, because that would suck a lot. But that's more the hardware lines of like the security that goes into a computer. I'm here to talk about more of your online experience and how you can protect yourself during that. Now, I want to pose a question. Do you think you're safe online? Now, if the answer is yes, you're probably wrong. There is no 100% prevention to stop any cyber attack against you, such as hacking or a virus. And that is exactly what cybersecurity is: the prevention of hacking or viruses taking over your system and taking basically ruining your system or taking the sensitive information within the system and then using it against you, such as your emails or credit card information, stuff like that. Now, what are some ways that cybersecurity is in use? Well, the most obvious one is passwords, or our passwords. And what passwords are like basically we take a string of letters or numbers or characters and then we jumble them up into an encryption key, and basically it's just like a random number, like it's randomly generated characters pretty much. So instead of like an A, it might be a box. And it may look weird, but that's how we keep ourselves safe from people easily figuring out what our passwords are. Another form of safety on the internet is two-factor authentication. And what two-factor authentication is imagine instead of you being at your home system, you're like at a net cafe and you're logging onto a computer there and you want to go onto your Amazon account. Well, even if you input the correct information, it's going to ask you for a security code. And these security codes will usually come to your phone if that's how you set it up, or they'll go to your email that's attached to that account. And then you would plug that in and it would allow you into the account so you can go shopping. Now, there's another form of that called three-factor, which is used mostly by governments and businesses, and it adds the extra element of needing an employee ID or a one-time passcode to make sure that even if somebody tried to get in, it is very unlikely that they can replicate all three factors of having the password, the correct username, as well as an employee ID or a one-time passcode. It completely stops people. Well, it isn't completely, but it negates a lot of the factors that allow people to get into your system. Now, like I said, there is no 100% guarantee that you can protect yourself online. And this goes for companies as well. One of the largest data breaches that happened in the recent decade that involved a lot of sensitive information for people around the United States was the Equifax data breach. Equifax is a federal credit reporting company, and basically what they do is they collect your information and they tell you how like your credit score is doing, what you can do to help your credit score, like consulting, stuff like that. According to the Federal Trade Commission, they said that 147 million people accounts were breached and hacked during the Equifax data breach in 2017. Basically, this involved stuff like IDs, driver licenses, and social security numbers, my bad. Social security numbers, and that's a lot of sensitive information that people can use to pass themselves off as you online and basically take over your emails and even like buy things in your name. According to EPIC, which stands for Electronic Privacy Information Center, they went further and stated that of those 147 million, 209,000 even had their credit card numbers and their credit card information stolen as well. So a lot of false charges were being applied to the people that had this breach against them. There were two factors that really affected why the breach happened, and one of them was human error, and the other one was old technology. The human error side of things is basically, let's say you have sensitive information that you need to pass around the company, but instead of using like a company-wide email system, you instead use Yahoo email. That's not very safe, as it can be easily hacked, and the sensitive information can be easily stolen. Then on the other side of things for old technology, that just means like you're not using stuff like two-factor authentication or three-factor authentication, which all have been recently made in the last few years. So what happened was Equifax not only had very insecure systems because of human error, they didn't have everything set up and everything coded in a way that made sure no one could get in. They also didn't have three-factor authentication set up, which made it very easy for somebody to hack in because they didn't need something like an employee ID card or a one-time passcode. So what are companies trying to do to make sure stuff like that doesn't happen anymore? Well, new technology is coming out that is trying to prevent people from being able to do that. According to the ECPI University, one of these things is called the Next Generation Breach Detection. And what that basically means is, compared to right now, where somebody could hack in and you might not know from like 6 months or like a year from when the breach happens, instead they want to use automated systems to be able to detect the breach much sooner so they can plug the holes and make sure that sensitive information does not get out. Another one that they stated was virtual dispersive networking. That's a very long word, and to pretty much sum it up, imagine again a password, but instead of it just going through the normal encoding algorithm, you chop it up, you jumble it up, then you send it through encoding, and then instead of it just sitting there, you send it down multiple pathways, so it's a lot harder for a hacker to follow each piece, grab them, jumble them in the correct position that you just messed with, and then get the password out of it so they can hack into your system. Now, all of this is not implemented yet, but it is getting researched on, and eventually it will be implemented to keep ourselves safe online and keep our information safe when we're giving it to companies that we need to entrust it to. So to give a brief summary of my speech, basically, so cybersecurity is the prevention of hacking or viruses against you online and also against governments and businesses. Now, we went over how passwords and two-factor authentication and three-factor authentication are some of the ways that you can prevent this from happening. But still, there's no 100% guarantee you can protect yourself online. Breaches still happen in the case of Equifax. And then we have new technologies on the way to protect us, to help us detect breaches faster. They might not give us a higher percentage of stopping breaches, but they will help us prevent them by seeing them faster and then plugging them. That is my speech, and thank you for listening. All right, how long was it?